Hi, welcome to the Annie's YouTube channel. My name is Katelyn, and today we're going to be talking about the Annie's Creative Women of the Month Club, the Chic Straw Purse. Today I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can accessorize your purse once you finish it with some embellishments and some tassels. I hope you'll join me to learn a few things. And if you're not already part of the Creative Women's Kit Club, check down in the description box for a link to sign up and subscribe. So we're going to get started with our first embellishment of making one of these cute little tassels for the side of your straw bag. To go ahead and do that, you're going to need some yarn. And I'm using some super chunky yarn. You can use something thinner. If you don't know much about yarn, each yarn that you find in the store is going to be a different weight. It's going to have a different number on it. This one here is a 4, so it's a little bit thinner. This one is, I believe, a 6 or 7, so it's quite chunky, but that's kind of the look that I wanted to go for, but you could do this with any size yarn. It'll just depend on how thick and fluffy your tassel is. I went ahead and chose this navy color because of the navy here in the side of the purse, so I wanted it to tie it just all back together, and so that's what we're going to be using. Now, before we get started with this, I do want to show you that you can go out and buy a specific tool like this one, the Pom and Tassel Maker, to go ahead and make your tassels and pom-poms for any kind of project that you have. But if you don't have one of these, I'm going to show you how you can do it anyway at home with some simple things that you have laying around. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some cardboard. And I just took a box and cut the flap off, and then I cut it in half so I'd have 2. Now, when you're cutting your cardboard, you want to think about the length from the top to the bottom here. That is going to be the length of your finished tassel. Let me show you how that works. So here I have my square cut, and I'm going to take my yarn, and I'm going to first start by cutting a length. This is going to be used to tie it, so I do want it to be longer than my piece of cardboard so that I have enough room to tie, and I'm just going to hold it here at the top. Okay, then I'm going to take the end of my yarn and I'm going to kind of hold it here. Actually, I'm going to hold it down here at the bottom so I have less cutting to do, and I'm just going to wrap it around like this, and I'm going to continue to wrap, trying not to get that little tail stuck in there, and wrap, and wrap, and wrap. And I'm just going to keep going, pulling out some more yarn as I go until I get it as thick as I want it to be. So you can just unroll your yarn and keep going. Okay, once it's as thick and fluffy as you think you want it, I cut mine at the bottom, again to save one cut from the end of the project, and you just trim it off kind of flush with the bottom of your cardboard. Then you're going to come back up here to the top, and we're going to tie an overhand knot into the top to cinch this up. So I do half of my knot, and then the second half of my knot I always do a surgeon's knot, so I go through once and I go through a second time just to make sure that it's nice and secure, and I'm pulling this down and pulling it tight. So now we have the part that we're going to use to tie off our tassel when we put it on our project. From here, I'm going to slide it off, and if you have to bend your cardboard, it's okay. Just bend it a little bit and slide it off. And now we have all of our loops. So to get our tassel, we need to cut, and I'm putting this in here and pulling it so that I get to the middle, or as close to the middle of the bottom as I can, and I'm just snipping through, double checking that everything got cut. So now you can see here, you could leave your tassel here, but it's a little loose here at the top, and so let's fix that and snug it up. I'm going to pull out another length of yarn, this one quite a bit longer. Again, it's not an exact science, we just need it to be able to wrap around a couple of times, so that's kind of how you're basing your length. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold my tassel just like this in my hand, and I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to drape it over. And I'm going to pinch it here with my thumb, and I'm going to wrap this around as tight as I want it or can go, and I'm going to wrap it at least 4 times. Okay, so obviously I have a lot of extra here. That's okay. We can cut it off. And so once this is full enough for you, this little cinching part here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tie another overhand knot. And again, I tie it one time, and the second time I do a surgeon's knot. If I have enough room, I should have left a little bit more. So I'll just do a regular knot. There we go. I'm going to pull my leftover down so that it's the same length, and I'm going to snip it so it blends right in. And then for this particular way of adding it, I went and I tied it right here onto the strap of the piece and just let my tassel hang down. You could also go ahead and grab a darning needle or something and feed it through one of the holes here with your needle that you got in your kit, and then you would have your tassel just hanging from the front and the knot sticking on the inside. So either way would be just as fine, or wherever you want to put your tassel. Now here you'll see a little bit of that knot. I like to keep that on the back side so you don't see it. And if you want to, you can go ahead and trim your edges to make them more perfect. You could untwist this yarn to give it a fuller look. There's a couple different things that you could do as well, but that just gives you one way to embellish your straw purse. Another way to embellish your straw purse, besides your tassel that we added, would be to make these cute little flowers that you can then sew to the front. I've left these two tails here so I can thread my needle and stick it right through and tie my knot in the back wherever I want them. And I'm going to show you how to make one of these little flowers so that you could embellish the front of your straw purse as well. So to get started, I'm using this mini flower loom. It's from a company named Clover. They make all different sizes. They have this size, they have a square size to it, and then they also have this big kit where you have multiple sizes all in one container. But we're just going to use the small size today because I thought it was really cute that you could make a couple of them and make like a little cluster. So for this, I'm going to use a thinner yarn. You could use a thicker yarn, but with this particular loom, I wouldn't go too thick because you won't be able to wrap enough times around it and give a really great look. So we're going to use this blue yarn, again, tying back to the blue on the side of the purse. And then we're also going to be using just a little bit of yellow yarn to make the center of your flower. Now, you could do it all with one color. You don't have to use yellow, which is traditional for the center of a flower. You can really make it however you want to make it and personalize it. So what you're going to do with your loom is you're going to start with your yarn down here at the bottom between two pegs. And you're going to come directly across from that, and you're going to wrap around. And then I'm going to go one peg to the left, and I'm going to wrap around, and then one peg to the right. And I'm just kind of holding this piece underneath. Oops. And if it comes off, that's okay. Just use your fingers to push it down. And I'm just going around the flower, always moving one over until I get back to the beginning, and I'm going to go around that a second time, giving a second layer to each of my petals. And you could go multiple times. You could go 3, 4, 5. You could fill up the entire peg with petals if you like. And here I am back at the beginning, and I'm going to stop there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snip off my yarn because I don't need that anymore. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make the middle of the flower to finish it off. So I'm going to just set this down for a second. And you're going to need a needle to be able to do this. You could use the needle that came in your kit. You could get a darning needle, or I'm going to use this needle here, which is a little bit sharper on the end. Not necessary, it's just what I have available in my yarn stash, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and thread. Oops. Sometimes you gotta try once or twice, but we're gonna thread it right through here. Okay. And once we have it on, we're going to take our loom and we're gonna come up right here through the middle, trying to make sure we catch the middle of everything. So the first one's the hardest one. So we're gonna pull that through. and leaving a little tail so we can tie it off, okay? And then we're gonna come down right through here in front of the peg, catching those strands of yarn. And we'll snug it up, and then we'll come back up through the middle in that same spot, and we're going to move over one, and I'm just going right into here, you can see, and going down. So I'm catching those pieces of yarn to make my flower. Now just be careful, I don't want that on there, so I'm just going to pop it off and pull it through. And again, up through the middle and down the side. And I'm just going to continue doing that all the way around the flower until I get back to the beginning. And if you want to, just like each of the petals, you could go ahead and you could do multiple rounds of the center. It's going to build up the height of the center and how much you actually see of the center. And you're just going to continue on like that. Let's just get here 2 more, and I will show you how to pop this off. Okay. Just sticking it right through there and pulling it through, snugging it up. And here we are on the last one. And again, if you want to go around again, you can, but you don't have to. I'm going to actually go one more time into this first one to kind of finish it off. All right, so once you have that nice center, you can clip this off and we'll knot it later. And then you have your flower. So you're just going to push from the middle and pop it right off like that. Oops, I got it stuck. Just gonna have to snip that. And then you have your little flower. So then once you have your flower here, you can go ahead and arrange them in any order that you like. You could try some different colors to make a bouquet. And then you can just take these 2 little ends and thread them onto your needle and put them through here and tie them in the back, and you'll have this great little applique on the front of your straw purse. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Annie's YouTube channel to talk about the Chic straw purse. I hope you enjoyed making this bag and that you'll use it a lot over this summer. If you're not already part of the Creative Women's Kit Club of the Month, go ahead down and subscribe in the description box so that you can join us here every month to talk about a new project and ways to really make it your own. Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel to let Annie's know that you want to see every new video that they have. Thanks so much.